I'm Jaron Lucas, and in this video, my very first live stream actually, I'm going to explain how to build unbreakable confidence in sales. And for anyone who's known me for a long time, you know that I started from the bottom here. So I feel like I have quite a lot of experience in how to overcome just that feeling of anxiety and fear that you get when you're walking into an important sales meeting. So we're going to be talking all about that in this video. Stay tuned. Welcome back. So like I mentioned, this is my very first live stream. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe because I would love to know what you would like me to make of this. This is pretty much just an experiment right now, but I feel like I would like to build kind of a more interactive relationship with a lot of you and hopefully teach you a lot in the process about sales. So I'm going to be going over 7 steps today, and these are things that I made drastic changes on. And I know that feeling, I just have to say, like when you're walking into a sales meeting or really any sort of high pressure situation where you just feel super amount of anxiety and it sucks, but it can be overcome. That's what I can tell you. It takes work. Meditation helps a lot, and I'm actually not going to talk about meditation too much in this video today, but I do highly recommend that as like pretty much step number 1. But I'm going to be talking about practical steps, things I did over really like 10 to 15 years that made a big difference. And I think if I had tried to push these into my life earlier, it would have all happened a lot faster. So hopefully I can help you with that too. Now, let's get right into it. Step number 1 is to take control of your body. And what I mean by this is, that feeling when you're about to walk in and you usually feel it in kind of like your upper back here. You feel it kind of maybe in your chest, your stomach. You feel your body tense up and maybe your breathing starts to speed up. Just your body goes out of control. And that is extremely important to overcome, because if your body's out of control, then people can just tell you're nervous. And it's even if you love your product, if you're communicating these subconscious incongruencies, it's going to lead to failure in sales. So the first thing we have to do is really work on how we're physically presenting ourselves, because if we're calm, then we can make the other person calm. But when we're not calm, when we're anxious, fearful, we're going to project that onto the other person and they're going to feel the same way. So the first thing is really taking control of your body. And there are a few ways to do this. The first is, of course, meditation. When you start meditating, you in the process start to notice what's happening inside your body. And I know, speaking for myself, when I started meditating a little over a year ago, now I meditate, by the way, for an hour a day. But when I started meditating, actually, I feel like I had been trained not to even listen to what's going on in my body. Like that was like a sign of weakness or something like that. And the fact is that your true power comes from within. So by learning how to recognize these feelings, like, you can tell when anxiety is popping up at its very onset, and then you can learn ways to overcome it. So one of the ways, like for those of you who are already meditating or already kind of recognize what's happening and see those early signs, here's one trick I have to overcome that feeling quickly. And what you want to do is you want to recognize first that you're in an animal body, your animal fear-based body that is, in survival mode all the time. And what we can do is we can remove ourselves. We remove our presence from our animal body by just kind of placing the feeling of your presence behind you. And I know that probably sounds weird to some of you who don't think about these kinds of things, but that's the most helpful thing, because now you're taking another outside perspective on what's happening. And you can start to say, okay, body, calm down. And you can just take control of what's happening. And this is something where you can do it both before you walk into a meeting or get on an important call, when you start to feel those feelings start to come up, you just take a deep breath in, breath out, and then move yourself kind of behind you. And I don't know why that works, but it does. So step number 1, do that. Now, in addition to taking control of your body, you have to take control of your breathing. And no surprise, this gets back to things that meditation can help with. But what you're going to notice is that your breathing speeds up when you're nervous. And you should recognize that your breathing isn't tied to what's happening in your head, or it doesn't have to be. Of course, like when you don't have control over your thoughts, you don't have control over your body, you don't have control over your breathing, but just recognize that you can breathe and smile in any moment, no matter what's going through your mind. So what you want to do here is when you, again, start to recognize the onset of that fear that's popping up before your sales meeting, just start to notice your breath and pay full attention to it and try to put it back to its normal speed. If you do that, what you're going to notice is that within 10 to 15 seconds, you're so much calmer. Now, there's another really cool method from Thich Nhat Hanh, who's one of the leading Buddhists in the world. I've learned so much from this guy. And another thing you can do is when you're breathing in, you can just think to yourself. Clearly, English is not my first language or something. You can think to yourself as you're breathing in the word happiness. And as you breathe out, you think the word calm. And what this does is it kind of has the effect of bringing those exact things in through your breath. So your body, ultimately, you're commanding your body to calm down. And that is extremely effective, again, for reasons that are very weird and a bit unknown. But I mean, science has proved this with all sorts of experiments. Anyone who meditates can tell you that this works. And so what I would say is, like, first, get control of your breathing just by paying attention to it. And then second, say these kind of like mantras to yourself: calm, happy, and that'll help you a lot. Now, moving on, the third tip that I have for you is to visualize from the customer's perspective. And what this is going to do for you, and by the way, if you have found this helpful so far, please give this video a like below so other people can learn about this, because I know that a lot of people really have a hard time with this kind of topic, with self-confidence in any situation really, and creating that unbreakable self-confidence so that you can go into meetings and enjoy your life the way that you want to. So moving on, step 3 is visualization, and doing that from a second person perspective. You can actually do it from all 3 perspectives. I'm just going to cover that one today. But what this is all about is, like, we have a tendency, or just think about a time that you were in a meeting and you were very nervous, and think about how it felt to be looking at the other person from inside your own body. And you're looking at the other person, you have all these thoughts that are going on at the moment. And in the meanwhile, the other person's doing the exact same thing. Well, what can really help you is by actually pretending to be that other person, to be your customer, and pretend that you're looking at you through their eyes. And really embody that second person experience of watching you pitch yourself. And what is it like being around you? Are you a fun person to be with? Like, do they want to be friends with you? Sales today, people want to do business with people they're friends with. And so if you're going at it with this formal approach, like, that's not working anymore. So you have to be someone who has the self-confidence to be in that room with the other person and not only say things that sound good, but also just be someone who you would want to hang out with. So practice really pretending that you're in a meeting with yourself. And you can just do this by closing your eyes. Even right now, you can pause the video, close your eyes for a minute, and just pretend that you're in one of these situations. And I think you're going to find a couple of things. First, you're going to notice things that you would change. That's perfect. Like, now you know you can change them, and you're going to do that. The second thing is you can really start to then go back to a first person perspective and play the same situation out with that new understanding. And you can just make sure that you feel really calm in the process. You want to visualize a meeting going very well, but that process of really putting yourself in the customer's shoes. If you're sending cold emails, I just did a video all after this live stream is over. I'll put a link somewhere up here, down below, probably both. And that email, I also go into not only how to write a cold email, but also how to put yourself in the other person's perspective so that you are communicating a message that you would say yes to. Which actually brings me to point number 4. And step 4 is sell to yourself. What does this mean? There's this, I have a very detailed theory that I don't go in depth with too many people, but bringing a level of spirituality into your sales practice can be very, very powerful. This is coming from someone who used to be a hardcore atheist and nihilist, by the way. But having that connection with yourself, and really this is a connection of love, self-love. And if you just practice really in this second person visualization, saying yes to yourself, saying, yes, I will buy the product, shake your hand, give yourself a hug, high five, whatever it is that makes you feel really good. But what you're going to find is that whether you're in a meeting or you're pitching from a cold email or it's your sales funnel, if you wouldn't buy from your own sales funnel or you wouldn't buy from your own pitch, then other people aren't going to buy from it either. So this practice of self-love and saying yes to yourself, not only is it going to help you uncover those messaging errors that would have gone wrong, but it's actually going to help you feel more confident because this is really getting to the core of probably, if you're having these issues of self-confidence going into meetings, this is probably at the core of it. It's something you should really work on, because if you don't love yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. And I'm not trying to be a downer with this, because you can change it. Like, this is something that I changed. And so what I would say is just like recognize the way that you feel about yourself. Feel how you feel about yourself as a friend, how you feel about yourself as a salesperson, and how you feel about yourself in the sales funnel or whatever process you're trying to do right now. And really learn to love everything about you in it. And I think that if you just take time, you can even, there are lots of great meditations for this on YouTube as well. If you just take time to really build that strong spiritual connection with yourself where you fully unite. And again, getting back to the visualization I'm talking about, like you fully unite with yourself as the buyer and yourself as the seller. And when you can unite in that moment, powerful things will happen to you and you will gain unbreakable self-confidence in your sales. Now, let's move on to step number 5. And step number 5 is positive affirmations and positive thinking. A lot of people talk about this one, obviously, but it's just like critical, honestly. Now, positive affirmations, people talk shit about them all the time because they tend to say that like they don't work or they're weak, and they really can be. So the thing is that like, let's say that you don't believe that you're a good salesperson. We'll just start there as an example. Say to yourself, I am a good salesperson. I am a great salesperson. I am a salesperson. Say all of these things in any way that makes sense for you and notice how you feel. If you feel any incongruencies inside of you, that's okay, but you have to get rid of them or you won't be successful in sales. So this is first with affirmations, it's a practice of saying, who do you want to be? And a lot of times, because we're always striving, we're always trying to get better, you are going to feel those feelings of you could feel like a fraud, or you could just feel like you're lying to yourself. That's okay, but stick with it and keep doing it. And the first step is just getting comfortable to the point where like you can say it and you don't have those feelings. And it only takes 1 to 3 days, depending on how bad it is, to get to that point. The next point is to keep saying it, but then feel a sense of true belief, true happiness, true gratitude, like these really strong, powerful emotions. Unconditional love and gratitude are the most powerful two emotions that humans know of. And if you can just get to that point as you're saying your affirmations, that's going to transform you even more, because now you're at least not going to be putting vibes out where you're saying like, I don't believe in myself or don't buy it for me. You just got past that with the first step. The second is all about attraction. It's all about welcoming people in to who you are. And so positive affirmations can get you there. The second point there is positive thinking. And on this channel, you've heard me talk quite a lot about extreme positive thinking. And I know this problem way too well, because I just have to say that throughout most of my entrepreneurial career, what I realized after many years is that I had a very negative viewpoint on my future. I thought that people would say no to me if I asked for a partnership or a sale. And any time that I asked for it, they did say no most of the time. I mean, I still had quite a lot of success despite it, but that's just because I was unhealthily grinding myself. And that's not sustainable. So what we need to do is get to a point where we actually believe that people are going to say yes to us, believe things are going to go well. And if you're feeling down or in a state of confusion about your business right now, one thing to look at is actually, am I thinking positively about my future? And if you can just start there, maybe start thinking about what positive things you want to happen, it's going to go a really far way to making it happen. And I know that when you're in those deep states and you have every reason to believe that, you aren't going to make the sale or your business isn't going to be successful, it can be really tough. But what I've experienced is that the more you practice positive thinking, the easier it gets. So, the first step is just what usually happens is you kind of it's easy at the very beginning because there's an aha moment. You're saying, oh my God, I am an amazing salesperson. I have this amazing future. I'm going to start a company that's amazing. And you're on this upswing. And then you hit some troubles, maybe you keep going up after that. You've that first little bit of resilience, you're there. But then, you've really been trying, it doesn't work, and you hit rock bottom. That's the moment where you need to really implement this practice again. And in those moments, we tend to forget to visualize. We forget to be positive and figure out what it is we really want. And the quicker, it's a skill that entrepreneurs need to have. You have to pick yourself back up quickly. And that itself, just not getting hit so hard by the downswings, getting back to your practices that you've put in place to stay positive, that's the secret. And the more you practice extreme positive thinking about your future, and then you start to think about what you want in the future as if it's already happened, the quicker it's going to happen. Because what happens is when you're thinking in that present tense, or that future present tense, I call it, you're okay. Let's say that you want a company that's going to go from $50,000 a month in revenue to $1 million a month in revenue. Those are two very different businesses. a lot of consultants tend to max out, and agencies too tend to max out at that $50,000 a month mark because they don't have delegation skills. And so they hit that moment, and they don't really know how to grow. The first step is just visualizing it, being there, thinking about how you're going to grow from here. And then beyond that, it's really about getting the right people on board and learning how to delegate. So you want to get the right partners, the right mentors. You want to start working with more people and trusting people who you can delegate to, because you're only one person. And even in that delegation, if you're bad at delegating, again, been there, you want to start looking at why. And one reason might be that you don't trust people and you don't think that they're going to do your work right. So you want to start looking into that. And, obviously you want to delegate up if you can. There's always a way. So one way, if you're having trouble with delegating, is really start to look at websites like Fiverr, look at ways. Like I actually have a really great search firm in the Philippines. And, if you are interested in them, definitely reach out to me. But, it's like I can find people and pay them, $400, $500 a month for things that would cost me $4,000 or $5,000 a month if a US person were doing it. And when you're in that small company stage, you need to leverage the global workforce and then build platforms to help you scale. So it really helps to start to just think about your plan, think positively about your future, and then repeat affirmations along the way to help you get there. And you will overcome those subconscious emotional blockages that manifest themselves physically. I know that's a mouthful. That, are there, that are causing your fears, that are causing you to remain at the same place. That's the way to do it. Now, moving on to number 6 is be an expert. And this one's pretty obvious, but if you are trying to pitch someone and you don't know your numbers about your product, you don't know your numbers about your industry, and you don't know strategies, you don't know basic facts, you're worthless to them. So if you're not already there, I know a lot of you already are, but if you're not, you need to go do some more research, and you need to be the person who can actually be a consultant if you are a consultant, you really should know this because it's literally your job title. But, even if you're an agency or you sell a product or a platform, like, you actually need to be a consultant to your customers. And that's what will get you to building that friendship, building that relationship, and they'll come to you if they have a real need for your product. They're going to have questions, and it's just like in sales, one thing that a lot of the really good CRM companies and a lot of the tools out there are doing right now is they're actually giving bits of advice on how to grow on their platform, how to send an email sequence, how to set up a remarketing campaign, stuff like that. And so, like, going above and beyond with your customers and offering as much free value as possible is really essential. One thing that I didn't really expect this, but one thing that I found with consulting in my business is that a lot of people have found value from being able to talk to me about their problems. So I'm kind of a bit of a therapist in that way. And then also really giving them the insight on how to think positively or how to think differently about their current situation, and so they can get to the next level. And really, we all need a support system around us, and so if you can be that person, it's really powerful in your sales. Now, the final step we have today is be an equal. And what be an equal means is, if you are a salesperson and you view yourself here and you view the client here, it's not going to work. And alternatively, if they view you here and they view themselves here, it's also not going to work. So you need to learn to be an equal with the people you're talking about. And this goes from the biggest CEO and billionaire to the person who is actually like considered beneath you. No one's beneath you, but you get my point. Actually, a friend of mine who's become a really successful entrepreneur, Laura Chavez, once told me something her dad said, who's also a very successful entrepreneur. And she said her dad taught her that they should talk to the queen as if they're homeless, and they should talk to a homeless person as if they're the queen. And I thought that was a really great thing to teach your children, because what I found is like, you want to be a real person to everyone. And if you're putting these societal distinctions between people, who's worth your time, who do you want to be seen with, all these things, where I know like when I was living in Houston, I felt these kinds of ideas very strongly. And it affects who you become friends with and how you feel about yourself, how you're living your life, because all your life is a series of moments until you die. And so you need to think about how are you living your life in the present moment? Are you caring about what this person can mean for you and do for you in your career? Or are you just being a fun person to everyone you meet and being friends with them? And if you can get in, that first one, people smell that in a second, and it keeps people down. And the honest truth is that a lot of bankers and lawyers never get out of this way of thinking, and it's so toxic. And I think, for me, it's been my own journey to get there. I think that it's really important that we just stay present with whoever we're at and really try to just be friends with everyone. And if you start to take on that mentality, when you go into those meetings with those really important people, it's just going to give you a different mindset. And one extra tip that I would give for you here is, when you are going into those meetings, and it's really important, imagine you're going into a meeting with Tony Robbins or Prince William or Bill Gates, and you're walking into this meeting, I mean, for hours before, I think most of us would be pretty tense. And the fact, and I think I've thought about this, and part of where this comes from is we want to see the person again. So we really stress ourselves out over how are we going to come across so that they want to see us again, and we're trying to put our best foot forward. And in that process, we are being a person who is less than them. And not only do we feel that way, but we also project it so that they see it in their own eyes. So I would say, like, even if you're in a sale and you need to see them again to close your deal, like, don't even think about it. Just think about right now. Think about this meeting. You're only going to see them once, and enjoy this moment. You get this one opportunity with this amazing person. And when you build that mentality, the way I came to this, by the way, is I started thinking about a lot of the friendships I've made over the last 10 years. And I have my Houston friends who I love, but I can't see that often. I have all these people that I met in the blockchain industry who, again, I think are amazing people. And you only get one or two moments with a lot of them. And I think about a lot of you a lot. And I'm always thinking back to those moments, and really what I used to feel is a sense of longing, like maybe I can't have it again, or it's a feeling of loss. And what I started doing is I just started appreciating it for what it was, because these moments we get in our life with really interesting people, most of our friendships after you're 30, you're only going to get to see people that many times. It's not going to be many. I mean, most friendships you're going to be able to count on your hand, but that doesn't really diminish the connection you have or the friendship. So what I would say is that be equals with people and just enjoy the few moments that you get with them. And if you do that, you are going to close more sales, you're going to make more friends, you're going to live a happier life. And I think that those three things are really key. So with that, I'm going to end this video. If you enjoyed this live stream, please give this a like below. If you have anger management issues, click it really hard. Just like take your anger out on it. It's cool with me. And also subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'm going to be possibly, let me know if you want me to keep doing these live streams. And for sure, I'm going to be doing 3 videos a week like I've been doing lately. So that's been, luckily I've been able to optimize that a little bit. And also I'm covering a lot of topics on how to grow and build a business you love. So if you are doing that, if you're an entrepreneur or you're in sales, this channel will be an amazing investment of time, I promise you, or your money back or your time back or something. Anyway, until next time, stay visionary.